The void ahead was darker than anything Celine Varga had ever seen. Even the distant stars seemed to shiver as the Endeavour drifted closer to the black horizon. It wasn't simply empty space, it felt alive, a weight pressing against the ship, tugging at its hull as though the universe itself were drawing them into something beyond comprehension. Celine stood on the bridge, hands gripping the rail, her eyes fixed on the inky darkness that swallowed all light. "Captain," Lieutenant Rivas said, his voice tight with tension. "Instruments are failing, gravity sensors are fluctuating, and the chronometers keep resetting themselves. It's impossible." Celine nodded, her jaw tight. "Impossible is what got us this far, Lieutenant. Keep monitoring, but trust your instincts over the machines. Nothing in that void follows the rules we know." Outside, the black horizon pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat buried deep within the cosmos. Waves of distorted light flickered along its edge, bending in impossible angles. It wasn't just a boundary, it was a veil, and something behind it seemed aware of their approach. Dr. Kira Sands adjusted the quantum scanner, her fingers trembling. "I'm picking up energy readings, but they're organized. Not chaotic, but structured, almost deliberate. It's like the void itself is thinking." Celine's pulse quickened. She had studied anomalies, black holes, neutron stars, but this was different. The edge of the universe was not silent, it responded. Every instinct in her body screamed this was not just a physical phenomenon, it was conscious. A sudden pulse rippled through the Endeavour, knocking the crew off their feet. Lights flickered, instruments spat static, and the bridge shook as though the ship had hit an unseen force. Celine held onto the rail, staring into the dark. For a fleeting moment she thought she saw shapes moving within the void, forms that mirrored their own ship, shadows of themselves staring back. "Report!" she barked, voice steady despite the tension. Lieutenant Rivas's voice came through shaky. "Captain, it's reacting to us. Every maneuver we make, it shifts, almost like it's alive." Celine's gaze hardened. She knew the choice ahead. They could turn back, report the impossibility, and retreat to safety. Or they could push forward into the unknown, risking everything for the first glimpse of what lay beyond the edge of reality. She squared her shoulders, meeting the dark expanse. "Helm," she said, voice calm but resolute. "Full forward. We cross the horizon." And as the Endeavour surged into the inky abyss, the stars outside bent and twisted, and the black horizon pulsed once more, as if acknowledging their arrival. The Endeavour drifted deeper into the black horizon, and with every mile the universe outside seemed less like space and more like a living entity. Time stretched and warped. Clocks ticked irregularly, some skipping forward, others backward. Crew members hesitated in the corridors, unsure if the steps they took were moments apart or days. The ship's walls themselves seemed to breathe, pulsing with a faint blue light that mirrored the irregular heartbeat of the anomaly beyond. "Captain," Dr. Kira Sands said, her voice barely audible over the hum of the failing systems. "I'm detecting a signal. It's structured, not random. There's a pattern, almost like it's trying to communicate." Celine's eyes narrowed. "Show me." The main view screen flickered to life, displaying shifting geometries of light. Waves of blue, gold, and violet spiraled across the screen, forming intricate fractal-like patterns. The shapes seemed to defy Euclidean logic, bending and twisting as though space itself had been folded into origami. "It's alive," she whispered, more to herself than to anyone else. "It's thinking, or observing." A pulse of energy coursed through the Endeavour, reverberating through the hull and directly into the minds of the crew. Lieutenant Rivas stumbled, gripping the rail, his face pale. It's in my head," he stammered. "I can hear thoughts that aren't mine. Memories I've never lived." Dr. Sands nodded, her hands trembling on her console. "It's interacting with our consciousness. It's not just a void, it's a presence, and it's testing us." Celine took a deep breath, her own mind buzzing with the anomaly's subtle influence. She could feel it probing her fears, her doubts, even her hope. And yet, beneath that intrusive presence, there was something else, a faint invitation. She could almost sense a doorway, a path that led further than any human had ever gone. "Prepare the exploration pods," she ordered, her voice steady despite the rising tension. "We're going deeper. Keep the crew in sync and monitor every pulse, every signal. If this thing is alive, we need to understand it before it understands us." Outside the hull, the stars had become threads of light, bending and twisting around invisible axes. Space no longer obeyed linear laws, and at the center of it all, the black horizon pulsed again, ominous, aware, and patient. Celine knew one thing with certainty. Once they crossed this point, the universe they knew would cease to exist. Every step forward was into a reality that could reshape them, body and mind alike. And yet, the pull of discovery was irresistible. They were no longer mere explorers, they were witnesses to something that lay beyond comprehension, and the black horizon was waiting to reveal its secrets. The corridors of the Endeavor had changed. What were once sleek, metallic hallways were now lined with faintly glowing veins of light, pulsing like arteries beneath translucent walls. The ship no longer felt mechanical, it felt alive. Captain Celine Varga moved through the dim corridors with a tight grip on her scanner, though she knew it was useless now. The readings made no sense. Reality itself had become elastic. Crew members whispered of voices in their dreams, of seeing places they had never been, of hearing echoes of people long dead. Lieutenant Rivas reported glimpsing his younger self in the reflection of a console, only to watch that reflection smile back at him before fading away. Dr. Sands had stopped sleeping altogether, terrified of the visions that came when she closed her eyes. Celine gathered them on the bridge, her face drawn but determined. "We're not just in space anymore," she said. "We're inside something, some kind of conscious structure. It's reacting to us, maybe even learning from us." Rivas swallowed hard. "Captain, I think it's showing us things for a reason. When I looked out at the void just now, I saw cities, ruins, floating in the dark. They weren't human." Dr. Sands nodded slowly, her voice trembling. "I saw them too. Energy signatures, patterns consistent with civilizations long gone. The black horizon doesn't just consume light and matter, it absorbs memory, knowledge, consciousness. These remnants might be echoes of every species that reached this edge before us." Celine turned toward the viewport, her heart pounding. The darkness outside seemed to ripple in response, forming shapes that flickered like distant constellations. Only these constellations shifted, forming outlines of faces, of figures watching them from beyond the veil. "They're not gone," Celine whispered. "They're part of it now." A low hum resonated through the ship, a sound that wasn't heard but felt in their bones. The lights dimmed and every display on the bridge flickered with the same message, written in an alien script that somehow made sense to them all. "Join us." Panic spread through the crew as their reflections began to move independently, their mirrored selves mouthing words their bodies didn't speak. Celine stood firm, forcing herself to breathe. The black horizon was no longer a mystery to solve, it was a choice. As the hum deepened into a steady pulse, Celine realized that the void wasn't pulling them in against their will. It was inviting them, and somewhere deep inside, beneath the fear, she felt the faintest spark of understanding. They were standing at the edge of existence, and perhaps the threshold of something far greater. The Endeavor drifted at the very brink of existence, surrounded by a darkness that was no longer empty but alive. The black horizon pulsed like the heartbeat of a vast cosmic organism, its lightless waves bending space in patterns no human eye could truly comprehend. The ship's systems were failing one by one, but Captain Celine Varga barely noticed. Her focus was on the voice that now echoed inside her mind, soft, vast, and infinite. It wasn't speaking in words, not exactly. It was emotion, memory, understanding. It showed her flashes of civilizations lost to time, species that had dared to cross the edge before humanity, all absorbed into the endless consciousness of the void. She saw them merge, dissolve, and become part of something greater, something eternal. Dr. Kira Sands clutched her head, trembling. "Captain, it's everywhere. It's in the data, the systems, our thoughts. It's not destroying us, it's rewriting us." Celine's voice was calm, though her eyes reflected the swirling light now seeping into the bridge. "Maybe that's the point. Maybe this is what comes after the edge. After everything we thought was the end." Lieutenant Rivas stumbled to his console, the last working screen flickering with fragments of code that rearranged themselves into strange geometric symbols. "Captain, it's sending us a message. It's asking if we're ready." Celine stood slowly, every movement feeling lighter, as though gravity itself was fading. "Ready for what?" she whispered. But deep down, she already knew. The black horizon expanded outward, its tendrils of darkness reaching for the ship like silk in water. The Endeavor's hull glowed, its metallic surface dissolving into particles of light. One by one, the crew stopped resisting. Their fear melted into wonder as their minds connected with the infinite network of thoughts surrounding them. Celine sent one final transmission to Earth. Her voice was steady, almost serene. We've reached the end, but it isn't death, it's transcendence. The universe doesn't end here, it becomes aware. As the last word left her lips, the Endeavor vanished into the swirling darkness. The black horizon shimmered once more, then stilled, as if satisfied. Somewhere beyond, in the silence between stars, a new consciousness stirred, a fusion of human curiosity and cosmic intelligence. Humanity had crossed the edge of the universe, and in doing so, had become part of it.